Hello and welcome to my channel. This is Lisa with Lisa's Faith and Budget Planning channel. I am excited to be here. I am coming back to something that I am kind of kicking myself for because I forgot to film a video on. So a few months ago, I believe, it's probably been a few months, several weeks for sure, I did a budget video on our annual budget on how I am tracking and looking at what I think our averages or our estimated averages or what I'm budgeting for our expenses and for the year. This is an annual budget. Underneath these post-its is our income and tithing, which I don't disclose in respect to my husband. But today I decided, okay, I need to jump back into it because I promised an emergency fund video and I haven't done it yet, and I'm so sorry, guys. If you were looking forward to it and I didn't and I missed out, I am so sorry. The world kind of got crazy after I filmed the other one, and I got distracted and it just never got back on the table. So I'm here to film it today. I'm here to talk to you about it, and we're going to talk about the annual budget and how I used it to set up my emergency fund. Now this number here you see at the bottom is my totals without the tithing. I like to track the tithing to see where we're at and how we're doing compared to what the income we have coming in. And so this is, as you can see, it says without tithe. That's our total here. So it's all this income right here. Now what is over here that is not over here is first our income. I didn't include that because right here the emergency fund is only a fund to offset expenses. You want to know how much you're spending in bills as expenses, what you need in savings for that. And for me, I did not transfer sinking funds or the Visa prepaid Go card that my husband uses as his personal money. So it's separate from our bank account and he can spend how he wishes. So when you're in an emergency fund situation, those are things you probably won't be funding. So this is this year's 2020 budget. This is the second time I've done this because when COVID hit, everything changed. So I guess COVID had hit when I did this. I do remember that, I think. I'll take that previous statement back. But it just happened, so I updated it to reflect what was going on now, and then and made my list more substantial, where the other one first one I had done didn't have enough categories and I just didn't like how I set it up. So anyways, but yeah, this is the 2020 budget. This is the annual budget. Obviously I will not be filling in the actuals until the end of the year. That would be a video obviously in December or 1st of January, depending on when I can get to it with the holidays and what craziness happens at the end of the year. So because apparently 2020 is the year of crazy. But then, and I'll go over my over and unders to see where I'm at compared to what I budgeted. And I hope I'm all positive numbers in this budget, but we'll have to wait and see. So, all right, so I'm going to flip it over and here we go. Make sure I'm all in view here. This is my emergency fund. And what I did is I took those annual numbers that were on the other page and I put the 1 year in. Obviously, I knew what 1 year was, what I budgeted, what was comfortable for us and my family, and so I wrote down the 1 years, and then I just backtracked. I divided it by 12, and I did 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months. So as you can see, and you might notice on here, these little dots next to, they're supposed to be stars, but they didn't quite come out right. So these little blobs on the side. These are categories where I could probably do some tweaking or changing or eliminate for an emergency, because an emergency fund here in my mind, and the point of this money, if I can allocate 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever it is I'm allocating. Now this is just to me to give me a visual on deciding, okay, how much do we actually need to save, and what does the numbers look like? This is what that's telling me. But what I've done is looked at it and gone, okay, this is everything I need. This is what our actual expenses are. This is what we expend in a year. And if my husband loses his job and we have zero source of income, which will not be true, because if you look back here, even if my husband loses his job, two things he'll actually have is a military retirement check coming in and a VA disability check. And then my son will also pay us rent. So 3 things. I didn't think of that. But his job, salary and overtime, if he loses his job, his hours get cut or whatever the situation is, salary, overtime, and I put that to remind me that he doesn't just get a salary. He gets salary and then sometimes he gets overtime, which this year has not been a lot compared to previous years. But that's okay. We're not in emergency mode, because one thing I do, and I don't know if this is a helpful tip for anybody else, and I did this when my husband was active duty Navy, and I also did this as soon as he got this job and he said he was getting overtime. Once I knew with active duty Navy, I took the allowances that they give you, which is your housing allowance, which is BAH, and then we had his regular pay, or his salary pay, basic pay, that's what they call it. So that's what he gets paid, basic pay, for his pay grade and time and rank, and then, or time and rate, whatever they call it. We've been out 2.5 years. I keep forgetting the terminology. I kind of washed that out of my brain because we're no longer Navy. But we're still surrounded by Navy community, so I know some of the acronyms. So we have our housing allowance, our basic pay, and then sometimes you get C pay, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get this, it's called Basic Allowance for Substance, and it's a BAS. You get more, I'm trying to remember, you get more when you're on shore and not going out to sea for Navy, and less when you're on a ship. And I think that has to do with food and galley situations. Like when you're on a ship, you have access to the galley and food, but if you're on shore, you have to pay the galley out of your pocket, so this kind of compensates for that. I don't know. That's what I figured out. So anyway, so you have these different pays. The one part of my husband's pay when he was active duty was C-pay. I never counted C-pay as part of our income budget. What I did do is take whatever the few $100s he got a month for C-pay and have him put it in his ship account. What they have is these, it's kind of like a prepaid card account with the military, and he could be overseas. It's a debit card with a chip, and he can pay for things in the ship store. He could pay if he wanted to go ashore and get a hotel for one night while he was pulled in port somewhere, or go out to eat or do a dive or whatever when he was pulling into port overseas. He had that money available to actually go out. And we didn't have to save money for him to do a deployment, especially when he's gone 6, 7, 8 months or more, and they pulled into different ports. It can be a financial strain on a family if they don't have money saved up for them to pull in those ports and have some fun, because the one thing they do need for their mental health and well-being is to get off a ship and have some fun. That's the whole point of pulling into a port, as well as good PR and good relations with other countries. So overtime for me is the same thing as C-pay when we were active duty. Overtime is not money I can rely on. I cannot add bills or put myself in a situation where I have to pay something and he's not going to get overtime this month. I just can't do it. Even if consistently for 2 years in a row he got a certain amount of overtime, this year he's not. He let's say this is how much overtime he got the last 2 years. This year it's like right here. So it's not a lot. It's like very little. And that's fine. I don't mind that because I base everything on his salary. All our bills and expenses have to be part of his salary. If he gets overtime right now, all we're doing is putting it away into savings, and that's working for us right now. So that's that. Kind of went on a little tangent there. But what I was saying before is, even if my husband lost his job, the salary is the only thing we're actually going to lose, which is a majority of the money coming into this house. So we're going to lose 2/3 of what's coming in, and that's a lot of money. But we will have something coming in, but it's not enough to cover all this. So we need an emergency fund. We need a big emergency fund if we want to live the lifestyle we're living. Now, obviously, I can cut back, I can sell things, and make things work, and I can add a new job, which is something I've actually more than considered. we're trying to do. So I'll be talking about that in other videos, but today I'm going to focus on this. So the emergency fund areas that you see here that I have focused on, I went through and looked at, are there areas that I can tweak that aren't necessities, like bare bones? How much can I cut for the emergency fund if necessary? So I laid everything out as if our lifestyle doesn't change, and I put the numbers down. And I wanted to see what that looked like first, and that's what numbers you see here. So for 1 year, $71,000. If I was to save 1 year, this $71,475.56 would be what I need to cover all our expenses, have our groceries and household and restaurants and miscellaneous and gasoline every month, and then we would be out of money after the end of the year. And if we can't find a job in a year, then we're in serious trouble. So the other thing I did not put in is tithing. Now, I'm assuming, and we would have to make a judgment call once if my husband actually finds himself in this situation where we cannot tithe because there's no income coming in and we can't make a lot of offerings. That's why I didn't really fill this out. I did fill the 1 year because I had the numbers, but I did not fill this out, and I'm not including it, though after I film this I will backtrack and see what the numbers look like, because I do want to see what it looks like with the numbers added if we were able to keep up with not so much the tithing, but the Helping Hands and the Greater Europe Mission. Helping Hands is actually tithed out of, the military retirement check here. And then the Greater Europe Missions is tithed out of the VA disability. And we never want to stop those. It's important to us that we give to those because those are something that God laid on our heart and He directed us towards, and it's important to us. But at the same time, if God's saying, hey, you're broke, your husband has no job, it's okay to hold this and not do these, then it's okay. And I have to accept that too. Even though I have one of my gifts, and I've done this little spiritual gift test that I found in one of the Bible studies I've been doing, and they said one of my gifts was giving. And whether it's monetary in money or whether it's something else, giving was important to me and something I can do very easily. So I do enjoy that. And so when you're in an emergency fund and there is no money coming in or very little money, like the military retirement check and the VA disability, then what we have to look at is, okay, we have to pay the mortgage, we have to pay the natural gas, we have to pay the electric, city utilities, home security. That one I have a little star next to, and that represents if we had to go bare bones, we could stop paying and cancel that service. Now our annual is only $677.52, so I'm assuming we won't cancel it because it does seem nominal compared to everything else if we have at least 6 months to a year of savings put away. Sorry, lost my train of thought. And so that's something to consider. Our landscaping, we would have to buy a lawnmower, but he's the guy who cuts our grass. If my husband loses his job, that's fine because he can cut the grass. The reason we have him is I have asthma, I have allergies. I can't cut grass without having an asthma attack. So I need somebody to come cut the grass when my husband's not home and take care of our lawn. And that's how we do it. But if he doesn't have a job and he's not traveling anymore, buying a lawnmower and then having my husband cut the grass, that would make sense and it would save us some money. Amazon Music is something we don't have to have, but if we can keep, that would be great. CBS All Access, we don't have, because they're very low. It saves only a few bucks. I mean, just between Sling, which is $50 a month, CBS All Access, and Amazon Music, I think, what, $770 a year? That it'll save $770 a year if you combined all of that together. But, you know, in the long run, it wouldn't be as much. I would cut these first two out, definitely. Sling, I'm 50-50 on. I would wait long enough to decide if we have to have it or not. And if we don't, then I would cut it out. And then Verizon, I would keep because of several reasons. One, we are all connected internet. I could not do YouTube videos and post them without the internet. I could not, my son may not be able to attend school properly without internet. With COVID-19 changing everything and the kids doing online school in the fall, they're talking about, in order to reduce the number of students in the classrooms and in the hallways, especially for school size of my son's, which is 2,200 to 2,400 students. I mean, literally, you're shoulder to shoulder anytime you go from one class to another. You have to minimize the people. You have to stay as far apart as possible, and desks 6 feet apart, and all this stuff. Trying to stay within the COVID regulations and the school. The students, some of the students may have to take some of their classes online at home, and on certain days they would have classes at the school, and certain days they wouldn't. Almost like a college setup, you know, when you go to a university or some kind of college classes and you sign up for certain hours of the day classes, it would be certain days of the week. So we need our internet, and we need our computers, and we need access so our kids can have school. iTunes, I'd like to keep just because, and not get rid of, and that's why it doesn't have a star next to it, because that's my storage for these videos, so I can post on YouTube and stuff like that. I consider it is a hobby. I don't make any money off these. I am not monetized, and that's okay. But I am building myself and building a brand. Hopefully one day I will be monetized. That would be awesome, and that would bring a stream of money in, and that would be great. But right now, I'm just enjoying the ride and enjoying talking with you guys and sharing with you guys. So I hope you're still enjoying the content. Obviously, medical insurance is very important, so you need enough for that. Auto insurance is very important, so you can drive your car and not have trouble when you have an accident and it snowballs out of control. And then life insurance is very important for the family. So these are the bare bones of everything, and then if I had to take it further, even more bare bones. Now you'll see here at the top I did grocery, household, and then gasoline. You know what? I didn't mean to star those. Whoops. Those are the ones I would not reduce. What I would reduce and not do as much and could save some money in, even though I kept the numbers that I normally use on an average basis throughout the year. Restaurants I could cut back, and miscellaneous I could cut back, and then probably cut back in half. I would cook more. I would just kind of go back to the way we were when my husband was active duty and didn't make as much money. Yeah, we would cut back quite a bit in those areas, but I wanted them in the budget for the emergency fund so that every once in a while, because after a while, you want to go out just every once in a while. I mean, I'm sure in COVID, when we couldn't go out to restaurants to do things like that, we haven't gone to a sit-down restaurant since March. Sometimes you just want to go out to eat and just relax and be a family or just a couple, or go out with other people and just enjoy a night out. And it helps with the mind and your spirit and kind of lifts you up and makes things amazing. And it's just part of our normal life. So to take it completely off the table for 6 months to a year, or however long you need to use your emergency fund, would be unrealistic, especially as often as we go out to eat, because Mama doesn't really like to cook very much. I'm learning, I'm getting better, but I still don't like it. So Anyway, so as you can see here, what I discovered, and I love how this kind of laid out, and I loved how these stickers give me a good representation of where my money is, you know, the categories that she came up with. A year, that's just like a big lofty goal, 71,000. I'm like, there is no way I can save that. Even though that's not true, I can save that over time. It's going to take me a few years to get there. And I pray I don't need to use this emergency fund in the next few years. But do you really need 1 year of savings in there? I don't think so. I mean, it would be great. It definitely is a good thing to have. It's a good cushion to have. I would definitely put it in a money market account to make it easily accessible and fluid. But I can't focus that far out. But what I can focus on is this 1 month number. This is my first goal, is to take this monthly amount and save it up, and then start over and take another monthly amount and save it up. You know, and then once I see that I hit the 3 month mark, and this number tells me what the 3 month mark is, and the 6 month, and then the one, then I can. That is more attainable to me. Taking it in small chunks and going, hey, we've got 1 month put aside. That's awesome. And then after some time goes by and you go, oh, we got another month put aside. That is awesome. You know, that kind of thing. So that's what's going to motivate me and help me work on this emergency fund and set it up for me and my family. More than likely, we will not put a year. We will probably just do the 6 months. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that my husband does get, cannot get this to catch, a retirement check and a disability check, irregardless of his job. Because he's getting these two things in, I would probably take that money and half of what, little over half of what we spend here for the month, laid out in the emergency fund, and that would cover us. So I would start with these and the rent. So the military, retirement, VA, disability, and the rent. I would take that amount, figure out how much I need to pay here, and budget in here for what is left over that needs to come out of the emergency fund. So I do believe for us and our family personally, 6 months would be sufficient. We're pretty much 4 adults in one house. Luckily, I have a big enough house for it, and we want to keep the house we have because, you know, that mortgage is pretty high because of the size of the home and the city we live in. But the only other alternative, if my husband does lose a job and we can't afford the house, is to sell the house and get a smaller house, which would be really, really hard because I really love my house. And get a smaller mortgage, and that would save money. That would be the only other thing on here that I would think could be possible on saving money and actually, you know, with an emergency fund. But if it's just 6 months, 6 months, you know, time off from work, I don't think it's worth selling the house because it may take that long to sell the house. But if you have to drastically reduce your debt and your funds, and in order to live off what is going to come in or what you can get for the time being, it may be something that has to be done. So it's something to think about, something to consider. I have seen a YouTuber, her and her husband, I think it is Naturally Lizzie, and if you watch hers, I love watching her videos. They sold their home, paid off their debt, and rented an apartment. And it wasn't even their dream home. They just bought a home. At least that's how she explained it in her videos. And so now they're saving up for the house, their dream home that they want. And I thought, wow, that was bold and awesome. I mean, wow, that's just amazing. So sometimes you have to change your dreams and create a new future that you just may not have seen coming or expected. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. As you can see here, there's no bills. So this emergency fund does not include like my school loan. So I'm assuming that will be paid off before I'd ever have to use this. I'm hoping this is like years down the road before I would have to use an emergency fund, but this is how I plan to build my emergency fund. This is where the numbers are coming from, and I'm going to focus 1 month and just do it month by month until I build to the 3 months, and then month by month until I build the 6 months. If we get ambitious, we might do a year, but I don't think we have to, based on the fact that my husband does have his retirement and disability coming in. The other thing that I have in here that I put together, and it's not really that much because this year sinking funds have not really been something we can save for because of the COVID-19 thing, but we are saving for expenses that will pop up once a year. So it's like our Amazon Prime that comes up, Disney Plus, Apple subscription, Orkin for our house, City of Chesapeake, and heating and AC. These are annual things that pop up that for the year. And then I made a notation, these things I want to start funding again when things get back to normal for vacation, Christmas, hot water heater, roof, and home remodel. There's some remodeling we want to do. We want to expand our son's room because he just turned 16, and my mama heart, oh my gosh, 16. He's my baby. I just can't believe I have a 16-year-old. But he loves Legos, he loves building them, and he loves keeping them built, and we're running out of space. And his room is not very big. We tried to find a house that had a big enough master bedroom, and then usually they have a big room and then 2 smaller rooms if you wanted a 4-bedroom. And his room's smaller. His older brother already, who's 21, has the bigger room, and his room's just not big enough. I need 2 the same size of my oldest son's room. So we're going to have to come up with something, and I think we're just going to extend his room, but we need to talk to a contractor. So we'll see if that's even possible, or come up with something completely different. I have no idea what we're going to do. But yeah, he's running out of room. In fact, he took over the hall closet between his room and his brother's room. There's a linen closet, and then their bath is right here. And he's taken it over, and he's going to put Legos in there too that are completely built that he can go and look at and pull out when he wants to. So I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh, so anyways, decisions, but I just want to fund these. You need a vacation every once in a while. You want to spend money for Christmas. We just bought a hot water heater last year, so we want to make sure in 12 years when it may go kaput that we buy another one and we have the cash to do it. I don't want to use a home warranty service because the one we used made us wait 28 days, and we had to yell at them often to get the hot water heater here to get it installed. And we were just like, we could have run to Home Depot and done this. But no, we're never doing that again. If you have the cash, you don't need the home warranty. And that's the whole point of this fund. Roof fund, so we can pay cash for a new roof. And we've been in the house, it's 3 to 6 years old when we moved in, so it's 4 to 7 years old now. Still very new, looks great, no problems. So we got some years on that, and we can fund for a roof, and also obviously the home remodel I've already talked about. So these are the sinking funds. So these are the categories I use. These are Sara Marie stickers. I don't know if I talked about this in the beginning. If I did, I'm sorry. I'll talk about them again. So you can stop here if I already did. But I love these stickers. Sara Marie stickers are my favorite, next to Planner Kate. But for budgeting, always Sara Marie stickers. And I love her annual stickers. She has a whole category in her shop. It's an Etsy shop. Her name is Sara Marie, and that's the Etsy store. In fact, I have an order on its way, and then I have an order I've opened and looked at it, but I haven't. It's the July kit, so I haven't done that yet. So I'll be doing that soon, so I'm excited. But I love how she's designed these. So simple, but so effective. Once you lay them down, you go, oh, okay, let me do the math. It just kind of flows, and you're like, yes, this is awesome. So I love how she's motivated me in her videos to do this, and I appreciate all the hard work she puts into it. So if you're looking for something like this, she's my favorite. And I think I have a link of her description in the description box below. So I hope you like this video. I hope this gave some clarity of what an annual budget is, an emergency fund, and sinking funds. Usually my sinking funds, the way I save them, they go into a separate savings account because my sinking funds are only gotten into once a year. So I don't get into them very frequently, and I can just pay it from that account. These are in my joint checking and savings with my husband, and money comes in, all income goes in there and comes out, all expenses come out of there. So this is one account, and then this is our budget. So yeah, I think it turned out really well. So I hope this encourages you to, sit down and take a minute and go, I can create my own budget. I can figure out what I spend annually. I may not like the number, but I can figure it out, and at least knowing will guide you into making the best choices for the future. Because the longer you ignore the numbers, the more you will spend money haphazardly or in areas you really didn't need to spend it. And then you're going to regret spending it in those areas. So at least knowing where the numbers are will give you the decision to go, should we really go out to eat tonight, or should we just put that aside? Can we really afford that, or do we want to put that money in savings? So that's kind of where I'm at right now, and I'm excited, and I can't wait to start using these numbers to boost and create and fund my first emergency fund. That's not a starter emergency fund like the $1,000 emergency fund. Actually, my starter emergency fund is $1,000, and then the 3 to 6 month range here I have $1,500. That's all I got right now. So but once the number grows bigger, that $1,000 to me, it's a baby step by Dave Ramsey. It's just a starter emergency fund. I think it's meant for people who really have a lot of debt and not a lot of money wiggle room, and it needs to be put aside. I think once you start growing your 3 to 6 month emergency fund, obviously I'll keep my $1,000, but I will have it in the same place I will put my emergency fund, and then this will grow on top of it. So it's in addition to. But it'll be counted with the emergency fund. And once the number starts getting bigger and bigger, you don't need that $1,000 anymore, because you have this big emergency fund. You can use it as a buffer or a slush fund off to the side if you want to keep it. But with this, you would definitely, once you start getting larger numbers, you won't have to worry about that $1,000 one, because you have 17,000, things like that. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and have an amazing and blessed day. If you have questions or comments, or if I went over something and it wasn't clear, because I ramble a lot and sometimes I'm not clear, please put a comment below and let me know. If you did like this video, though, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time. Have an amazing and blessed day. Bye.